So the purpose for today is that we want to make sure that you get all of the information you need as an APS community member regarding the proposals for the repurposing of Paris Elementary School. We also want to allow our community members a chance to ask questions. So after each presentation, you will have an opportunity to ask our vendors questions and be able to, ask them in real time, things that you would like to know about their proposals. And we ultimately are really looking forward to collecting your feedback through our survey. There's going to be a QR code that you're going to see at the very end of tonight that will give you access to the survey. It is very short, so it is a way for us to collect your feedback on which proposals you support and which ones you oppose. So we will be sharing that with you at the end of tonight. Brief overview of our schedule here. We will be starting with our first proposal group, Cohen Esri. We're going to have a 5-minute break. We will move on to Vanguard Classical School at 6:20. We'll have another 5-minute break following their presentation. We'll move to Village Exchange Center. We'll have another break, and we will conclude the night with Young Aspiring Americans for Political and Social Activism. So APS put together some guidelines as we were working through some of the work for Blueprint APS, as you all might be aware of. One of the things that we felt was extremely important as a district is to make sure that the district was prioritizing facility uses that align with your values and district's priorities. So if some of you have participated in previous surveys, we have done quite a bit of focus groups and surveying over the last few months, most of which happened in November. And we were able to really take all of your input and put it into our process. And so the people that you see here tonight, the groups that you're hearing from tonight, are those groups that the district and our review committee felt aligned to your values. So your voice does matter, and we're very happy that you're here. We also want to make sure that this entire process is transparent with you, being able to share the things that we have learned, share the information we've received, and provide you a real-time opportunity to provide input. So I'm not going to bore you with all the information on this slide, but just to give perspective, APS has been working on this repurposing process now since late October of 2022. We are now in phase 3, which is our community presentations. This is the last step, as well as our survey, before any final recommendations are made to our APS Board of Education regarding the repurposing of this particular school building. So we were able to receive proposals for 3 different kinds of uses. We received proposals for the future district, continuing district use of a building. We have also received proposals for leasing of this building, and we have also received proposals for the purchase of this building. There are obviously different impacts on the district and on students and families in all of the different scenarios. So we will obviously be talking through this more at great length when those decisions come before the board. If you did not already, I highly recommend that you grab one of the packets before you leave tonight, and you're more than welcome to go grab them right now. We have provided printed materials to show you the rubric that was used to score the proposals that APS received for the repurposing of Paris Elementary. We had a repurposing committee that used a rubric to score all proposals the same. And they were given numeric scores based on a variety of different criteria. The criteria are all listed here on the screen. One of the criteria is there an alignment to what our community said they wanted? Is there an alignment to the district's priorities? And additionally, there were other questions that were asked really regarding about feasibility. Can this project actually happen, right? These plans may sound wonderful, but really when it comes down to it, is there a supportive budget? Is there a proper plan for the facility? And how would it impact the community? So all of those things were reviewed and scored by the committee. Every single vendor has a page in that packet that shares their individual scorecard. So you can see what they scored on their review by the committee in each of the criteria. There's also a description of any of the concerns or any of the questions that the committee had regarding those proposals. And that information is translated in our district's top 10 languages. So if there is someone at home or a colleague or a friend that you want to share that with, please feel free to take that information home with you. So for the repurposing of Paris Elementary School, there were 4 proposals that were received. There was 1 proposal that was recommended to be advanced by the repurposing committee based on the numeric scorecard, and that was Vanguard Classical School West. Additionally, there were 3 other proposals that were advanced by Interim Superintendent Mark Seglum. With the difference in these advancements, I want to just clarify this for all of you. The committee was charged with using the rubric and scorecard, and it was up to our committee to determine the threshold at which they felt a proposal should move forward in the process or remain. In the committee's perspective, they had some concerns about some proposals with regard to feasibility. You can see that written in their scorecard, and they did make that recommendation. Additionally, however, as we have mentioned many times before, we spent a lot of time trying to understand what this local community valued and what you wanted to see in your community. The additional proposals that were forwarded by the superintendent have extremely strong ties and alignment to the community values, and it felt like it was very important for you as the community to be able to hear those proposals and look at them alongside everyone else. So all 4 of these proposals have been recommended to move forward. So what are we going to ask of you? At the end of tonight, we will be giving you that QR code. I believe the survey is 4 questions, but it will essentially be asking you for each of these proposals that you hear tonight. We want to know, do you strongly support them? Do you support them? Do you not sure? You're not sure? You're indifferent? Do you oppose them, or do you strongly oppose them? And we will be asking you to express to us why. It matters why, and so we really encourage you to fill out the survey following this evening. We would love for you to submit that button on your way out, but if not, we will be sending out this survey, and it will be open for the next 2 weeks, I believe. So you will have an opportunity to provide feedback. Why is it important to complete the survey? Because it will be one of the things that is used in the final recommendation determination. So the final repurposing recommendations, the goal is to have those to our board in May. And the different things that will be considered are the scorecards that you have in these packets from the committee, the survey results from all of you and the feedback that you provide, and the alignment to the guiding principles that I shared with you at the beginning of tonight.
My name is Lisa Sorensen. I am Development Director with Cohen Esri Development Group. And first off, I really just want to thank Aurora Public Schools for inviting us to be able to present tonight, and also for administering such a streamlined and well-organized RFP process is much appreciated. And I also want to make a call out to all the groups presenting here tonight. It's just great to see such amazing organizations so interested and committed to this neighborhood. Let me introduce my team here. This is Nick Emmenheiser. He is also with Cohen Esri Development. This is Camille Harding. She is with Paragon Behavioral Health. And this is Guadalupe Cantu, and he is with, he's our architect. He's with Davis Partnership. Cohen Esri Development Group is a developer of affordable housing, and our mission statement is, we empower people to thrive. A lot of companies I've worked for, you feel like it's a corporate-driven marketing statement, but not for us. It really matters. We believe that having quality, affordable housing is the cornerstone to empowering people to thrive. We, let me move. Oh. sorry. We are proposing 162 units at this location. And you may think, how in the heck are they going to fit 162 units? So that is why we have our team here, but we have divided it into two components. The first, the northern part of the site is called Hub House. This will be 60 units of permanent supportive housing. We will be partnering with Paragon Behavioral Health and provide services along with the housing. The south part of the site we've called Paris Place, and that is designed for about 100 units of just regular, more standard, affordable housing. I will tell you some of the questions that have been mentioned is this possible? This project is very possible and very real. This is what we specialize in. We do this across the country. Currently, here in Colorado, we closed last year over 200 units of affordable housing. It was one of the hardest economies after construction increases and interest rates, but we got it done. We are committed to this, and this is what we specialize in. I would also like to say that we have several priorities. So housing anymore is not just building apartments. Not for us, at least. It's about services, support, partnering with the community, being a long-time neighbor with the community. We're not the type of developer that we're going to build and then sell and be gone. We are here for at least 15 years. This housing is deed restricted for 40 years. It cannot be removed. Our calculations based on the number of units we're building, over that 40 years, we'll be able to serve 8,000 to 10,000 people in this neighborhood with secure housing. One of the last points I want to make is community. This is amazing that we get the opportunity to talk with you tonight and hear your questions and concerns. This is something we will continue on throughout our development cycle. We want to hear what the community wants. We want to hear the long-term goals, and we want to partner to provide that. So I'll pass it on to Nick, and he can talk a little more about permanent supportive housing and affordable housing.
Thank you, Lisa. Could I take the clicker? You're good. So good evening. My name is Nick Immenheiser. I work with Lisa and the rest of this team. So on this site, we are envisioning two separate forms of housing. One being the supportive housing, about 60 units. This is really intended for individuals exiting homelessness and youth exiting the foster system, generally youth under the age of 25 experiencing homelessness. Oops, wrong slide. So supportive housing, this is housing that includes case management on site, medical and behavioral health provided on site, as well as life skills. And the rent is supported by vouchers that come from the state. We have experience, we're closing a project right now in Colorado Springs that has these vouchers, which are available generally for projects like this. And here's an example of our portfolio of supportive housing projects that support these individuals in maintaining their path out of homelessness and into stability. And like I said, this is the Launchpad, our project in Colorado Springs, which is very similar to the project that we would deliver in this school building itself. There is an extra acre south of this building where we would propose affordable or workforce housing. This is housing that's generally where residents pay their own rent, but the rent is affordable and income restricted so that they can live within a budget. This is housing that generally corresponds to professions such as teachers, other APS staff positions, police, fire, librarians, etc. So this is really for individuals that are typically not well served by the affordable housing system in our state, but they also are cost burdened when they go out into the open market and look for market rate housing. And so here's 3 examples of projects that we've closed currently that are under construction that give you an idea of the type of project that we would deliver on the extra acre south of this site. We would have well, actually our architect will just speak to the physical attributes. And then next I'm going to turn it over to, actually first, so then I want to also mention, our purchase terms that we've proposed. So generally, this project can afford to pay a $15 million purchase price for this building and for the land. We've requested that 20% of that purchase price be made available through a seller carryback, which would give us a financing option in the event of an economic collapse in the next year or so while we're trying to deliver this project. That option would ensure that this project is sort of recession-proof, if that makes any sense. We would finance the rest of this project through tax credits, grants from the city of Aurora, as well as the state of Colorado, private debt for which we would be on the hook, and again through the vouchers from the state, which we've worked with before. We've proposed an option payment and extension payments, and we also will strive to close this project by November 30th of 2024 or sooner. Then I'm going to turn it over to Camille.
Hi, sorry, I have a very persistent 12-year-old who keeps calling me. I'm like, stop calling me. So my name is Camille Harding. I am with Paragon Behavioral Health Connections. I started Paragon and then merged with a smaller organization that has been serving children involved with the child welfare system for over the last 30 years. This is just a snapshot, if you can see the diagram of families that we've served that have been involved with the child welfare system. And so really what we're proposing is for the permanent supported housing portion is a combination of services that would serve families that would be in a permanent supported housing project. And so we would have an on-site behavioral health clinic. We've had several conversations about what would that look like. So kind of your traditional outpatient clinic, as well as services provided in the homes for families that will include mental health and substance use treatment, family therapy, life skills, parenting supports, and then comprehensive sort of wraparound services that include helping families access transportation, medical services, food, childcare, and all those other sorts of things that you think about when you think about how do you support families in a holistic way. We currently do that. It's a home-based model that we currently provide in about 15 communities across Colorado. And so this would be very similar and in alignment with what we already do. And then the one other thing that we'd sort of been discussing is how do you think about serving kiddos that maybe are an individualized education plan, or kiddos that have social emotional needs. And so thinking about sort of a flexible day treatment program on site and or early childhood program for kiddos that have social emotional needs. So I think there's a combination of sort of services that are provided in the home, in a clinic, and or sort of a school-based setting with a lot of behavioral health supports layered in for kiddos that struggle in sort of your traditional educational settings. So we're thinking about filling those gaps in care for kids that maybe don't get what they need in a traditional classroom, and how do we build in and layer in supports in a variety of ways. I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't need to say more.
I will be fairly quick. My name is Guadalupe Cantu. I'm an architect with Davis Partnership Architects. I have been practicing for over 20 years. That's kind of probably evident by the gray in my hair. But I've been working with this team on a number of these projects, and it brings us great joy to come to the realization where we can actually have an immediate impact to the communities that we serve. As kind of mentioned, and I don't know who has the little trigger.
Is it set down up here?
Oh, here we go. As mentioned, going through and trying to figure out the feasibility of the projects, what we're really trying to do, and let me scooch around here, is work towards how do we preserve the legacy of this site and what it has in its history. Very much, this building has amazing bones. This is less than 20 years old, And as obvious by the great room that we're in, we don't want to change much of this building. I think what's really evident is within this building, as you have the stair core located here, everything towards the south is what we would actually employ in the classrooms as being 17 units that we'd have a mixture of 2 and 3 and studio spaces. Going back to the overall design of the project, it's really important for us to make it very clear that although this is supportive housing, this is nothing different than any other market rate project that we're trying to propose. We're looking at similar square footages, 550 square feet for studio spaces, over 700 square feet for 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms from 1,000 to 1,200 square feet, and even going so far as offering 4-bedroom units, which are fairly unheard of, at around 1,500 square feet. We're really trying to provide an element within this project that allows us to create a meaningful presence where we can actually have those who are within the neighborhood continue to live in the neighborhood and then thereby support the community around it. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we provide elements within the design of the project that is engaging towards the community. As was mentioned, within the school use, obviously having supportive services and behavioral health is something that we're very proud to kind of work behind. Another element of this is within the actual housing element that we're proposing on the affordable side is actually having an additional amount of space. Even though this says 2,000 square feet, we're actually trying to allot 3,500 square feet for the actual market. And then likewise the use. Here's a couple of images of what we've provided in the past. Gotcha. And what we're really trying to assume is that we're trying to make something which is oftentimes thought of as being less than, but actually make it a remarkable component of this community. Here we have it. It's a very quick description that shows how feasible this is, where we utilize 1/2 of the building to incorporate units, but very much use a bar on the north side that will incorporate the additional units that will comprise of 60 units for the behavioral health. And then located on the very corner, we will end up providing the L-shaped building that will house the additional 100 unit spaces. Very much looking towards the bottom element, which would be closer towards Paris and 16th, where that will actually become the market, which will help serve all the multifamily that rides along Paris Street. Here are a couple of rendered examples on how we hope to achieve this, with very much the building in white, as you can see in its context, hoping to not just apply ourselves as a alignment with that building, but very much trying to repurpose ourselves so that we're actually continuing the legacy that is the Paris Elementary. All right.
One more minute. So I can just wrap up. I know we put a lot of information out here. We did put a timeline here, is fairly detailed. But the one takeaway I guess I want to conclude with is this is what we do. We finance these buildings across the country. We specialize in it. We have a whole team behind us. And our company, Total Wide, is probably working on about 15 projects right now. So we find solutions, we solve problems, and we make these buildings a reality.
So I understand that this project will be funded at some level with tax dollars, yes? Or tax credits, government funds, am I wrong? So are those tax credits an annual application? And if so, how do you guarantee you'll continue to get them year?
Excellent, excellent. So the tax credits, so we would actually qualify for 3 types of tax credits on this project. There is one application round. It's with the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority. That's the agency that we work through. And it's a one-time allocation, and they're distributed over 10 years. And then what we do is we take these tax credits. So we say, okay, Chaffa, okay, Aurora Public Schools, okay, community, we're going to build this building. They allocate the tax credits to us. We go out, there's actually a market where we sell these tax credits, and there's a rate, and it fluctuates. And when we sell the tax credits, that's what gives us our cash or equity financing to fund the project. So.
I'm just curious, with all the people that we talked about putting there, where's the parking and what's that do to the traffic in this neighborhood?
Great question. There's always a joke in architecture that you can build, but you can park. The reality is it's more about design. But here, what we're actually suggesting is that we're going to keep and maintain the original curb cuts that exist at the building. Everything along Paris is where the primary entries currently exist. There's kind of a back of house entry off Oswego, but what we're hoping to do is actually provide a parking structure that will ride immediately adjacent to the building, where a portion of it's going to be parking underneath, where you'll have a 5-foot depression going down and a 5-foot going up. So in essence, 10 foot of parking separation, where most of that will be achieved to the existing curb cuts along Paris. There will be the option to access that parking garage off Oswego, but it would be limited to only the parking that's going to be affiliated to half of these units. The majority of everything is going to be underneath the building to the north and adjacent to Paris directly. So the goal here is that maintain the amount of coverage that's already there with all the kind of in and outs that happen during prime times, 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and kind of work with what the school's already kind of working with regards to drop off and pickup, and try to basically just substitute that with housing. And I think if anything, what we'll obviously have to do is also make sure that we hit a traffic study to make sure that those numbers actually correlate, and if there's anything else that we can help mitigate that. Okay. I got to work towards my steps. Let's go. All right. Yes, ma'am.
One thing I'll just add real quick.
How is
as
this
it-
financially feasible and sustainable?
Well, thank you for that question. The primary way that this project is financially feasible is through vouchers that pay for the supportive housing residents' rent. We will project base those vouchers so that the unit comes with the voucher whenever a resident is able to be moved into the unit. The workforce housing phase, on the other hand, those will be real rents. So it'll range generally from $800 approximately for a 1-bedroom today to about $2,000 for a 4-bedroom apartment. And there's different income levels within that unit mix. So that project will be supported by the rents paid by those residents and then supplemented by the tax credits that we use that will buy down the cost of renting that unit for that family.
Hello, okay. So I have 2 questions. My first question would be, how are you guys gonna assure that these new buildings are gonna be affordable? And what plans and laws or in the leasing of these buildings for owners, are you gonna make sure that people within the community are staying within this community and it's not outsiders trying to get to a closer location to the hospital to move in? Because there's already a real problem in Aurora of gentrification and the pushing of black and brown bodies, and I really do not want this school to become another place in which that happens. And my second question would be, how do you four see this project more important than a school, and how do you guys see creating these new housing how is this more helpful to this community than a school would be? And I would like to see your guys' input in that.
Yep.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. And that is our priority as well, is to keep the people in this neighborhood living in this neighborhood. So what we could do to make sure that happens is, as I mentioned, we would have community meetings throughout the development process. And there are these fair housing rules we have to abide by. So we can't say, we give people within 2 blocks priority, but because that breaks those rules. But what we can do is be in communication with the community and let you know when the waiting list is released, and make sure people from this community are on that waiting list and as a priority for the housing. How it gets locked in, there is a formula of the rents that Nick mentioned, and that's a long conversation, but the rents are defined by HUD. We are limited every year. We cannot just raise rents. It is a formula and it's dictated by HUD. And this program has been around since the mid-'80s. So it has a long proven track record, and then how it's locked in is through that we have a land use restriction agreement that is actually recorded on the title of the property that restricts the rents. So, I don't know.
I just want to mention also, great question. I think you asked the $1 million question, to be honest. And I think that's a very difficult question for the school board and superintendent to weigh and for this group to weigh. What we would propose to you is that this project is a direct reaction and response to that gentrification that we're seeing here in Aurora. Secondly, with this project being able to pay $15 million for the land, that would be funding that would come back to Aurora Public Schools and enable the school district to pay more for teachers, pay more for supplies, you know, and so on and so forth. So we really, I would point to the, you know, it's really unfortunate that this school property is being closed as a school. That's happening due to the gentrification because families such as what we have here are being priced out of this neighborhood. That vicious cycle can be turned around into a virtuous cycle through affordable housing such as this project that allows this neighborhood to retain some of the character and spirit that it currently has and always has. And any other comments to that
I could
question?
address, I think we need to address his comment on the how is this more valuable than a school. And I think so that's that my comment on that would be is schools are amazing. I cannot say this is more important than a school. I can't. I cannot say that. The work that gets done in schools, the work done by Aurora Public Schools, by teachers, students, is all amazing. This is just a different use, and that's the decision to be made.
I think one point to that is we're really trying to provide an opportunity where this program, especially with the Paragon side, is really intended to now, we have the supportive housing side, but the Paragon side is really intended to help the schools that are within the vicinity. This is really intended to be a kind of an element which is supportive of all those ventures, Montview and all the others that are in kind of the perimeter, so that we're not trying to take away from the idea of what was lost, but basically add to the existing services that are here.
Yep, that's a good clarification. And I know, do you want to mention it more? Do we have time?
Yeah. The one other thing I would add about the behavioral health supports is that, right, it's not just intended for the residents that live in the housing community, but for the larger community. And really, I think when you think about what schools do, oftentimes they are in a position to be providing behavioral health supports and wraparound supports. And so we're really thinking of a way, how do you provide those supports and maybe help outreach the larger community and offload some of that work from teachers and administrators so that we can be that sort of safety net of behavioral health providers in the community that provides sort of walk-in services, crisis services, so that schools can do what they do best and we can do what we do best.
Any other questions? Looking for hands. Yes, perfect. Excuse me, folks.
What are some of your other projects in Colorado?
Next slide. So this one here is Trails at Lehigh, which is 72 units of family housing in Englewood, which we broke ground on in June. This one just broke ground last month. It's Panorama Heights, 133 units in Colorado Springs on the southeast side of town. This one is 348 units in Ogden, Utah, which is also workforce housing, really targeting that that teacher, firefighter, police kind of income band community. So these projects, oh yes. And our favorite project is the Launchpad. This one is in partnership with a nonprofit called The Place, which came out of Colorado Springs Urban Ventures. 50 units houses youth aging out of the foster care system under the age of 25. Again, a very similar concept to what we would use this school building for.
Please.
Es muy bonita la propuesta que tienen, pero yo tengo una pregunta. ¿Quiénes van a ser elegibles? Ya que esta área somos la mayoría hispanos o gente inmigrante que a veces no tenemos un estatus legal para ser elegibles para programas.
Hi. So this is a great proposal and it's beautiful. However, I want to ask a question about reality. There's a lot of people in this community who are immigrants who don't have the legal status that it may require to apply for such a program to live here. Have you thought about that, or can you speak to that, or if there's any way that you will mitigate that?
I used to manage the Affordable Housing Fund in the City of Denver for 4 years before. Yes, I used to manage the Affordable Housing Fund in the City of Denver, and you can live in affordable housing without immigration status. As a company, we do not check for immigration status or green cards or anything like that. We income qualify people based on tax returns and income statements, bank accounts, things like that. So it's very similar to opening a bank account. It is not, now I will say Section 8 vouchers are difficult for people without immigration status, but affordable housing is a right for anyone who lives in Colorado. And so that wouldn't be a problem.
You can take one more question.
In fact, it's illegal to discriminate based on immigration status in Colorado.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rosalanda. Miren, el proyecto es excelente, pero les quiero compartir un poco de la historia de Aurora. Yo tengo aquí desde 1993. Cuando yo llegué, fui parte de la mesa directiva de Aurora original. Cuando llegó el hospital, nos lo vendieron, que exactamente el mismo proyecto que ustedes, que íbamos a tener más trabajo, que nuestros hijos iban a tener una oportunidad. Y cuando también se abrieron todos los edificios que están por la Piori 14, si pueden ver toda esa área, lamentablemente allí es un área de renta. Lamentablemente dijeron que nos iban a dar oportunidad y como dijo la compañera, somos indocumentados. Ganamos muy poco, más abajo del mínimo. Entonces, ahorita, si ustedes pueden ir a ver, nadie de la comunidad vive ahí. Nadie de nuestra comunidad trabaja en el hospital. ¿Por qué? Porque no estaban preparados, porque no estaban capacitados. Cuando vinieron con el proyecto, dijeron que nosotros íbamos a ser los beneficiados y no lo estamos haciendo. Que porque no estaban preparados. Una de mi hija estaba preparada, pero no hubo oportunidad. La mayoría, el 90% de los empleados del hospital no es del área de Aurora. Lo único que hemos tenido a cambio, el gran sueño, el gran premio, el gran regalo que nos dio Aurora, el hospital y toda esta que han creado, ¿saben qué es? Nos han desplazado. Nos han desplazado. Y precisamente por eso es que las rentas están muy altas. Ahorita hay muchas casas abandonadas. Mejor, ¿por qué no hacen eso? ¿Por qué no buscan esas casas que están abandonadas y realmente hacen un cambio para la comunidad? En verdad, disculpen que mi voz se quebra, pero me da tanto coraje. Trabajé por 15 años de voluntaria en la comunidad, trabajando, y lo único que pude traer fueron servicios médicos. La clínica que está por la Yosemite, esa clínica, cuando la abrieron, dijeron que nos iban a dar servicio a todos, a todos. Ahorita están diciendo que ya no le van a dar servicio solamente a las personas que vivan en el área de Denver y sector estatutos. ¿Por qué? Ellos los abrieron porque nosotros apoyamos. Así que, de verdad, lo que realmente necesitamos es educación de calidad para nuestra comunidad, para poder ganar eso que nos ofrece.
Con permiso, voy a hacer el intento. Si se me olvida algo, fue porque un poquito largo, ¿ok? Hi, I just want to say again, this is a great proposal, and thank you so much for presenting it. But I want to give you a little bit of background. I've been here for over 13 years. In fact, I was part of the board of directors and the community that was at one point tapped before they opened Anschutz and the whole hospital expansion. What did we get told then? We get told, hey, there'll be opportunity for you, there'll be a place for you, there'll be work for you, and you will have a better way. What actually happened was, after the 10 years, none of my colleagues or people that I know that were here for that proposal worked there. They don't work there because they're not prepared to handle the jobs that were created there, or that's what at least we were told. They were not given an opportunity to live or rent in the area because people who could afford better moved in. In summary, I want to say that the hopes and dreams that we had and were provided to us at the moment of construction have not materialized. What we've won is a lot of heartache. I had one of my daughters who was prepared but was never given a chance to participate in the new construction. What also we want is to be displaced. None of my neighbors are here anymore. No one that I used to know lives here. And it just sounds like this will be more of the same. Now, I can tell you that there's other detail that I can go into and tell you about how communities where another hospital was built or a hospital down the street was built were displaced as well. If you look at Peoria and 14th, that whole area, none of us live there anymore. We can't afford it. So that's what I'm trying to say here, that it is difficult to believe this would also be an opportunity that we will participate. We don't have the papers that we didn't have back then. We don't have the back then. How can you tell us that this will be different? Many of us are still stuck earning under minimum wage, and I just don't see how this could be any different.
Since Fitzsimmons was built in this area of Aurora, there's been 2 affordable housing developments. For everybody in Aurora who needs an affordable house, there have been 2 affordable housing developments contributing about 250 units. This project nearly doubles that inventory of affordable homes for existing residents in this area. The gentrification issues facing this neighborhood are a direct result of building market rate housing and not building any affordable income restricted housing in conjunction with those market rate units. And so I would say that this is different from some of those projects in that in those projects you were promised, basically trickle down economics, which we know do not work. This project is different. This is a home for people who need an income restricted home. It is nothing more.
I might add to that too, and I'm sorry that experience happened, Luciento. We have checks and balances on us. That organization I mentioned, Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, they do audits, and if we don't follow the rules, we get our tax credits taken away. We got to pay back our investor, and it's bad news. So we do have checks and balances on us to make sure that we follow the rules. Like that document I told you that's recorded, that's a permanent document for 40 years. So I don't know how else to describe it, but we do have organizations that will check on us to make sure that this happens. And if we don't do it, our financing gets yanked, our limited partner walks, and we're out of business. So.
I was just going to add one more quick comment related to employment opportunities. We currently work with a number of affordable housing communities across the state and actually recruit and hire from residents that live in those communities to be peer support professionals or individuals with lived experience to help work as care managers and liaison with the community, because we know that oftentimes that's a far better strategy, and so there's ways that we can ensure that we're being reimbursed through the state Medicaid agency, and they've created a pathway to actually hire individuals that come from the community as a way to ensure that language and accessibility and equity is built into our model of care. So we currently do that today.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity for Vanguard Classical School West to explain our proposal to buy or lease this absolutely incredible Paris Elementary campus and make it into our permanent home. And I say make it into our permanent home. We don't need to turn this into our home. This is ready for us right now. We would need to do almost nothing in order to come here. My name is Jay Cerny, and I'm the Executive Director of VCS West, and I'm the first of several presenters tonight. But first, who's here to support VCS West? Okay, thank you. What I love about Vanguard is our diverse school community. We celebrate students from 26 nationalities that speak 31 unique languages. We truly rock diversity. We really rock inclusion. We love the relationships that we establish with our students, staff, and community.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Danielle Tomwing, and I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm proud to be the board chair for Vanguard Classical School. My daughters have been attending Vanguard since they were in kindergarten for the past 7 years. Being from the Caribbean, it is important for my daughters to grow up in a community of diversity with people from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and religions, completely immersed in a melting pot of cultures.
Good evening. I'm Kira McCafferty, the principal at Vanguard West. I've been at Vanguard since we opened in 2007, 16 years ago. I've also been a parent at Vanguard since 2017. I've continued to return to VCS year after year because I love this community that I serve. My life goals match the mission of this school. I value individuals and their growth, so much so that I make it my mission to have a connection with every student and family that attends our school. Thanks for coming.
Hello, my name's Michelle Fisher. I'm a licensed architect and an owner's rep, and it's my great privilege to consult with the Vanguard team. I'm going to open our presentation this evening by telling you just some brief information about school facilities. School buildings must meet building code criteria that assure a higher level of safety for K-12 students compared to other buildings, such as office spaces or retail structures, because schools serve young students in large numbers. K-12 schools have increased requirements for structural design, for ventilation, and fire alarm. District schools are designed to assure the safety of students and meet the unique programmatic needs of K-12 education. In 2006, our community dedicated tax dollars to build the Paris School to last 100 years. We believe this unique and valuable community resource should continue to operate as a public school to honor the fiscal investment and educational needs of the families of APS. The mission and vision of APS and Vanguard Classical Schools share the same core values, preparing students for a self-determined life of meaningful work and service.
Vanguard Classical School has been partnering with APS for the past 16 years. For all 16 years, the West Campus has been serving kids from kindergarten through 8th grade. Our lease terminates in June this year, and this is driving our decision to invest in ourselves and find our forever home. Many do not realize that charter schools must finance their own facilities, and most charter schools pay a lease or a mortgage for their school buildings. For over 9 years, the East Campus has been serving students from kindergarten through 12th grade. We successfully purchased the East Campus building in 2020. We have a long, sustainable track record with APS, and we are here to stay.
Vanguard Classical Schools are a unique offering in APS, as we are the only classical core knowledge schools. In alignment with APS, we are a pathway to a life of purpose and a call to service. The classical method builds on basic core knowledge to ensure students don't have curricular gaps. Core knowledge has been proven to create a cultural literacy, allowing all people in the United States to connect through history, stories, and values. When I taught 6th grade, we created beautiful family history albums when we studied immigration. We also enjoyed a Latin American feast every year at the end of our Latin American Independence Unit. This feast allowed for many of our families to contribute their personal histories and traditions with the class. We always left that day with full bellies and just more information and a larger understanding of our Latin American countries. Core knowledge addresses an unspoken need of families seeking a baseline of integrated knowledge to navigate life's choices effectively as newcomers building a future.
Vanguard West families are Paris Elementary families. We are VCS Paris. If we are lucky enough to obtain this building, we will actually be renamed VCS Paris. We understand the opportunities and strengths in the diversity of the Paris neighborhood. We embrace 26 nationalities and 31 languages, and both school communities have over 80% free and reduced lunch. We are committed to continuing to serve our APS families as VCS Paris. This map shows the current location of our VCS family homes. The center of the circle is Paris Elementary, and the outer circle is about 2-mile radius around Paris Elementary School. Approximately 50% of VCS families live within 2 miles from the Paris Elementary School. Relocating our 362 students to Paris is a very small shift from VCS West to VCS Paris. They're located about 3 miles apart. Our families will continue to drive their kids to school, and it will be an easy transition for our VCS families. Our families share the same neighborhood as Paris Elementary School.
We come to you today to expand our ability to provide a full circle of community support. We currently work with Miel Foundation, African Leadership Group, STARS, the Colorado Crisis Center, and Aurora Mental Health. VCS Paris allows us to expand these partnerships with the VCS Paris Community Collaborative. We will dedicate the modular classrooms to our Paris Community Collaborative.
We truly believe it takes a village. The Paris Community Collaborative will provide us full circle community support, connecting the Paris community with a network of resources to uplift our kids and their families who support them. We will continue to provide essential needs, meals, language classes, free before and after daycare, and health services. Additionally, we believe in investing in community-driven initiatives by providing additional tutoring, training, and leadership workshops. Our 4-day school week allows Mondays to be fully dedicated to accommodate these services that are much needed in this Paris community. Our vision is to open pathways and opportunities for our Paris families to thrive and define their own journey. We want the Paris Community Collaborative to be part of your village.
If we have the good fortune to procure the Paris building, we'd like to extend the invitation to Village Exchange and YASPA to join our Paris Community Collaborative. At this time, I'd like to introduce one of our essential community partners, Yvonne Romo. Yvonne is the founder and president of Miel Foundation. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Yvonne.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I think I know a lot of you guys, but a little bit about myself. My name is Yvonne Romo, Yvonne Estella Romo, and I was born in Texas. Oops, about that. Okay. I was born in Texas, and I've been here grew up in Mexico. I've been here since I was 14. I've been in Aurora, graduated, and right out of high school, I started working as a linguist for the Department of Justice. And after 16 years, I came across a nonprofit organization. That was about 5 years ago. After realizing the many services available, I was amazed and baffled at the same time because, my parents, my family didn't know I grew up and I didn't know about these services. So I started joining the programs, different organizations, volunteering for health fairs, events, and just after 3 years, Miel was founded. Miel, per its initials, focuses on mental health, immigration, education, and language. Since starting about 18 months ago, we've had an amazing support system from attorneys, counselors, therapists, and we've been able to offer over 70 events focused on English classes, citizenship, immigration sessions. We've developed leadership programs, culturally informed programs as well, suicide prevention, and coordinated vaccine clinics, partner with many other organizations for health fairs and much more. We want to ensure to positively impact students, parents, teachers, and everyone. We aim to honor our mission to its fullest potential and empower our community by ensuring support for long-term success to our neighbors, volunteers, students, and colleagues, our community. We have created a volunteer program as well, which is culturally focused and offers growth opportunities for our volunteers to engage in our programs, such as the English classes, computer, vicarious trauma, emotional intelligence, and all of our programs are available for them and for the community. Miel's goal is to ensure we offer equitable services and resources to bridge the barriers that for our family and friends to access the services available and minimize the isolation that we go through and maximize the involvement from all cultures equally and positively impact our community and our world. Thank you. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to, sorry. There's a lot of movement up here. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. She was at Vanguard in August 2007 when we first opened. At that time, she was a third grader. I had the pleasure of knowing her as my class did reading buddies with her class. A few years later, I had the honor of being her sixth grade teacher. Today, 16 years later, she is employed at Vanguard as our K-8 art teacher. Please join me in welcoming Maria Jose Betancourt Aguilar.
Sorry. Hello, y'all. My name is Maria Jose. I was born in Mexico and I moved to the United States when I was 5 months old. I came to Vanguard Classical School in 2007 when I was in third grade before there was an East Campus. I graduated from 8th grade and I've been here from the beginning and I've seen Vanguard transform for the better. I never really left Vanguard. My sister stayed at Vanguard, and once she left, both of my brothers still remained here. They still remain here to this day, and so do my cousins. I am a first-generation college graduate. I went to CSU Fort Collins to study art and Spanish education. Then I came back to work at the same school that I went to. I always wanted to teach at a school where I can represent my students. Through the years, I've seen our community grow and connect through events like Culture Night, our many sports games, and academic keynotes. I honestly don't remember much of my education before Vanguard. I started to pay attention and enjoy learning when I came here. I joined the art club when I was a student here, and now I created my own. We do things now that my previous art teacher had done, like taking us to the free art days at the Denver Art Museum. I also joined Girls on the Run, a program that empowers young girls while running, and I am proud of going from participant to youth mentor to coach. At VCS, we use a trivium curriculum, meaning in grades K through 4th, we learn basic facts. In grades 5 through 8th, we start thinking through the process, and in 9 through 12, we start coming to our conclusions. I am an English language learner. English is my second language. Vanguard introduced RIGS and phonics to me, and it helped me in reading and writing. I've also learned to be the person I am because of the values of Vanguard. Throughout our academic career, we learn honor, achievement, world citizenship, and kindness, and how to apply it in our everyday lives. I am here because I care about my community. I want students in my community to grow and succeed. I want to be an example for them and let them know that your goals are achievable no matter where you come from. It only matters where you go.
Okay, so we believe we have three compelling offers that are listed here. We're highly flexible and willing to negotiate. Those offers all have solid funding pathways for all of them, including the $6.8 million purchase that we have out there. Making Paris Elementary our permanent home will go a long way to honor our vision of creating well-rounded world citizens of exceptional character who are prepared to contribute to and improve their communities. We also wish to honor the vision of APS and the wishes of APS taxpayers by allowing this magnificent school to remain a magnificent school into the future. Paris Elementary will continue forward as VCS Paris.
Thank you to the APS Board of Education and our Aurora community for your consideration. And of course, a huge shout out to our Vanguard students and families for coming to support our school. We would love for you to share your questions.
Building is beautiful and everything as far as everything goes, but what are we going to do? What are we going to do as far as security measures in this area? The kids can barely get across Yosemite. How are we going to get them across Colfax? We feel safe now knowing that our child's playground is in the back of the building. Right now, it's completely open and there's behavioral health clinics around here. On our diversity nights, when it's come and go, are we going to have an officer at the door? Because at the other location, we're comfortable enough where there's people walking in and out. This is a completely different area than where we're at right now.
That's a great question. You know, we'll continue to take all security precautions that we have at any school. Schools, you know, unfortunately, in the last several years have had to really tighten down, including the double front doors, which of course we have here, and all the security measures that we have. And anything, you know, one thing that is unique about this campus actually is it's completely fenced all the way around it. So that is actually a bonus that we actually don't have at the current VCS West campus. But of course, we would take that incredibly seriously, and we want to make sure that everybody needs to feel safe no matter where they are and when they are. So we would obviously take that seriously.
Yeah, safety and security, anybody who's been at Vanguard, you know that's our number one thing always, always, and that doesn't change. And right now, Paris operates as a school, a safe school, and we plan to continue that.
Are they all the way up to 9th grade at this time also?
They're a K-5 at Paris.
K-5. Okay, so we're dealing with a different age group also in this area.
So our plan is to continue to be a K-8, and we will continue to accept students who meet our criteria to come to Vanguard, and we will run a safe school. Like I said, safety is our number one priority.
Área. Cuando el North Middle School está aquí cerca, en la Peoria y la Mambio, la Fletcher. También tenemos Boston, donde también es de K8. ¿Qué quieren traer otra? Si cuando la comunidad necesita apoyo comunitario, no nada más de educación, ¿qué van a hacer con todas las familias que se van a desplazar porque no van a ser elegibles? El aula o el salón o el edificio no tiene la capacidad para atraer.
Well, my question is, why bring another K-8 school here when we have Norches right up the block? We also have Fletcher, we have Boston. When our community, what it really needs is community supports. What's going to happen is the displacement again. So what the community really needs is community supports for our community.
I'd like to start with, we do already exist in this area of Aurora. We are 2 miles, if you could go straight there, 2 miles away. If you have to drive there, it's 3.2 from here. So we already serve this area. And we are planning to bring more community services. Like I said, we work with a lot of community partners, and we see that extra building out there as a building to really open up a space for our community partners to exist and meet people and help. And then on the weekends and evenings, they can use the building to, you know, offer the classes that they want to offer, language classes. And we've done resource fairs already in our current building with Miel. So we do plan to have those community resources as well.
¿Puedo agregar algo en español? Creo, y no soy maestra, pero una de las cosas que hay que recordar es que no es traer otra escuela, es mantener la escuela que ya está. Ahorita aquí hay una escuela primaria hasta 5º grado. So solamente se van a agregar 3 grados más y aparte van a agregar servicios comunitarios. So hagan de cuenta que son 2 por 1. Vamos a tener los recursos y continuar con la educación para los niños. Gracias.
I'm sorry, the question was, what would be the capacity for us? Yes, we would, right now, we run K-8 with 2 grade levels, ideally 26 per grade level, and we wouldn't change that. So 495 would be our biggest number of students.
Oh, okay, so I'm gonna answer the question. Was the question translated?
Oh, no, he'd like you to repeat what you said, but in English.
I know, but I was wondering if they had translated her question. No? Okay. So her question was, what is the point of starting a new school if Boston is here, Fletcher, and several schools are around the area already offering the same grade level? So my answer, and as I mentioned, I'm not a teacher, but my response was that we're not bringing more schools, we're just keeping the services that right now are available for children, the education up to 8th grade, but as well as adding community services or resources for English, medical, legal, and other partner organizations that want to support us and collaborate with Vanguard. They're not limited, as they had mentioned before, to just the 4 or 5 organizations that are currently started with them. Lo que mencionaba también es que las organizaciones no están limitadas a las que ahorita van a comenzar con ellos. Ellos están abriendo las puertas a si reciben o si compran este edificio, a que otras organizaciones se junten con ellos para traer esos recursos también a la comunidad, como Village Exchange, lo mencionaron al principio de la presentación. Sorry if I missed anything. Perdón si me pasó algo.
Yes, so my question is, what are you guys already doing to overcome the challenges of lack of teachers leaving, and just I feel that our kids are not getting the education that they deserve. So what are you guys offering that it's best, that I want to bring my kids to your school instead of other school, and for teachers that want to work with you guys? So what are those?
Well, we've been working for several years to increase salaries, and one of the higher salaried charter schools, we're probably charter school. We're really working hard. I mean, we're a classical core knowledge school. We're a classical core knowledge school. So, that's the difference. You're getting a classical education, you're getting a core knowledge education, which is, core knowledge are the, what every 4th grader needs to know, what every 5th grader needs to know. And we're doing it through a classical way, which basically means we're just not asking the regular questions and you're just, and answering back. We're asking you why that's important and how you can utilize that in society. And we're really doing a good job with that. That is what classical education
You
gives us.
have to talk into the microphone or the translation can't hear you on the side. I'd just like to say in response to your question, like I said, I've been at Vanguard for 16 years. Many of my staff, including Mr. Brewer standing up there, 10 years at my school. Many of our staff have been here 5 or more years. We have a 90% retention rate year over year. When we lose a teacher, it's often because of a big life thing, and they will tell you that. They're having a baby and moving home, or they're staying home. It's big life things. When people come to Vanguard to work, we become lifers. Yeah, I mean, they're shaking their heads.
Could we have our teachers stand up? This in itself shows how many of our teachers have showed up tonight to support our Vanguard Classical School. This is real commitment and dedication to Vanguard Classical School. Thank you.
And that's the first step of providing a great education. It's people who know what it is they're teaching and people who make great connections with children. And that is what these people do. I argue all the time. I tell people who want to join our team, it's a hard team to join because we are the best in the business. I work with the best educators.
Yo me voy a me voy a atrever a contestar como padre. Mira, mis hijos estuvieron en la escuela Kenton, en la escuela Manview, en la escuela París, y al final me moví a Vanguard. Yo les puedo asegurar que lo que no encontré en las demás escuelas es que nos tomen como un ser humano, con necesidades. En las demás escuelas siempre nosotros somos números, y la diferencia entre otras escuelas y esta es que si realmente te escuchan, o al menos a mí me escucharon. Cuando yo llegué y le dije qué problema tenía con mi hijo más que nada, y míralo hoy, habló. Antes era muy tímido, era muy asustado, estaban muy bajos en lectura, y no es que no pudieran aprender. Lo que pasa es que en ocasiones el bullying no solamente existe entre estudiante y estudiante, sino maestros. En la manera que un maestro le habla a un niño es bullying. Eso fue lo que pasó con mi hijo. Y yo lo reclamé y fui hasta el distrito y solamente me decían que después. Para mí fue una lucha tan grande. Siempre tengo 6 hijos. Siempre he buscado. Oh, perdón. Ya.
So I'm gonna answer this as a mother or as a mother. So my kids went to Kenton, Manview, Paris, and along all of those, what I did not found, it's what I found here. So what I did not found, be treated as a human, okay? Which I found here. They listen. I told them my problems. He was timid. He was low in reading. But it's not always about their learning abilities. It's also about bullying. It's also about how their teachers talk to them, the way their voices are. It can also be considered bullying. So I went to the district to bring these matters up, but it wasn't even addressed until I came to this school.
Pero les soy sincera, no sé si por ser una escuela pequeña, hacen una gran diferencia. Y lo que como me comentaron, siempre veo que los maestros se quedan y cuando mis niños tenían preguntas, se quedaban y contestaban. Yo con la directora me reuní más de una vez, no con ella, con la otra, que tenía la otra, cualquier problema y yo mejor iba directamente con ella. Cuando en otras escuelas es muy difícil que hables con una directora porque siempre están muy ocupadas. Y esa directora ya la tenía cansada, pero era el futuro de mis hijos y siempre estuvo ahí para mí. Esa es la diferencia. Y esta escuela, si no se le da la oportunidad a otra escuela, va a desaparecer. Lo único que va a hacer es que se va a juntar los estudiantes que hay ahorita en la escuela París con la escuela Vanguard. Si le dan la oportunidad, créeme que van a beneficiarse. Pero recuerden que la educación de nuestros hijos no solo son los maestros, también nosotros nos tenemos que unir. Y para ti, cuando una escuela es buena y tú le pides recursos, ellos los traen. Exacto. En Aurora, de verdad sí, pero es ahora.
Disculpen, tenemos que asegurarnos que todo se traduzca. Okay, so I don't know honestly if it was because it's just a small school, but I did notice that at Vanguard the teachers stayed. I had connections with the superintendent or with the principal, which at some schools you don't have access to. You try to find them, but they're always so busy. Again, I don't know if it's because it's so small. A lot of times, you just don't get what you need. So really what would be happening here is that you're just merging Paris and Vanguard together. So your students will be staying here. It can be very difficult at other schools, but it can happen here. So the comment from the other mom is that I can tell you about other schools I've been into, some couple schools, specifically Central. Some people have labeled it as a bad school, but my kids, I have kids that attend there, and they have excellent grades. So it's not always just the schools, it's also the involvement of the parents.
So it sounds like we have time for just one more, and I know somebody in the back had one, so I'm coming towards you.
Hello. I've been in Denver, Colorado for 25 years, and 23 years I grew up here in Aurora, one as a homeless, first of all, and then I decided to go to school, Emily Griffith, and then the first thing I did, it was to open my hair salon 23 years ago here in Aurora, and since the first time I could support my community, I did it. I started in Cherry Creek. And I remember I always laugh about my boss. He died 3 years ago, and I told him, I said, you know why don't we open a salon on that area? It's a lot of families that they would like to have a pretty salon, I said. And he's like, well, from Colorado down that way is not my ground. From that point, I understood that it was a difference for me as an immigrant. And for me, when I decided to open the salon, the first thing I did, it was to reach the community, the kids of my clients, which it was, I do most of it women. So in the shares, you hear the stories of what's happening. And you always feel the discrimination, and the need. Right now, I'm specifically talking about the Mexican people that until now, they're not being supported. Why? I don't understand, because of the system. I don't know what's going on. But now we have a lot of refugee and immigrants that they're getting support for months. They're already getting residency or they're getting jobs, and we still have parents and kids that they're not getting any support. So my question here is, number one is, what new things you're going to bring here that schools are already offering around? And second, from the teachers that you guys have, how many they're fluent in Spanish? This community, that's what it needs. This is the heart of the Latino area. So for me, I'm very concerned about that.
Thank you. So I want to start with what we bring new is Ivan and Miel. Like she said, the I in Miel is immigration. She runs clinics where she brings in lawyers into a gym, and families can come in and ask them questions and get free advice. And she helps connect families to a lot of immigration support. As far as Spanish speakers, we have many Spanish speakers on staff. I don't know what our number is. There's 25 teachers on staff, and then at our building, let's go with our building. At our building, we have 53 people, and at least a quarter of them speak Spanish. I don't know what's happening, I'm sorry. At least a quarter of them speak Spanish. Our front desk speaks Spanish. We have somebody in every hall. We do have a lot of Spanish speakers. If you asked any of our Spanish-speaking parents tonight, and there are many of them, it's never been an issue for us to communicate to one another because we do have a lot of Spanish-speaking people in our building. Okay, we got to wrap up, and I want to do that. I do want to say, it sounds like there might be a little bit of confusion about enrollment. I just want to say that we are an option in Aurora, and we do have a lottery. Anybody can enter that lottery. We draw the lottery to fill our empty spaces. And just like any other school, you have to submit records and things like that. But we are an open enrollment school as well.
And if you are a Vanguard parent, you are in all. You don't have to go into the lottery. We have 360 students at our school right now. And if we were to move to this school, we could hold 494. So there is still room, but every single Vanguard parent, you don't have to go in the lottery. You're already there.
And just one final thing, I do want to be clear that this is an Aurora public school. I know that sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but as a charter school, as I mentioned, we've been partnering with the Aurora Public School as a public school here in Aurora for the past 16 years. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Omar Montgomery. I am president of the Aurora branch of the NAACP and board chair of the Village Exchange Center. And before we get started, we're all educators or have a passion about education. And some things took place at a neighboring school, different school district. East High School is on my mind. And as we began to think about our community, let's keep East High School community in our hearts and in our minds as they've experienced the second incident today. With that stated, those that are here for the Village Exchange Center, can you please raise your hand, stand, recognize? Thank you. And for me, I found the Village Exchange Center when I was going to an event. And I think about the over 152 languages that are spoken in this city, and sometimes the lack of services that are provided where people can show up as their authentic selves, regardless of who they are. I walked in the basement and saw kids playing soccer of all different ethnicities and nationalities. I saw people where they can show up and be in their community, have services, and more importantly, be their authentic selves. So before I continue, I'd like to introduce a video from Congressman Jason Crow.
Welcome everyone, Congressman Jason Crow here, representing Colorado's 6th District, home to the Village Exchange Center. In our community, one of our greatest strengths is our rich diversity of culture, race, and creed. That diversity of experience is a big part of what makes us stronger and more vibrant. I'm incredibly proud of the Village Exchange Center's work. They provide an integral support system to our community, a place where all are treated with dignity and respect. That means providing families with early childhood education and health care, connecting folks to meaningful careers, vaccine clinics, youth leadership programs, and importantly, a safe space for worship.
And as you hear, what Congressman Jason Crow is saying are the services that we go over during the presentation. But also it's important to hear from the people that live in this community. And we have a student who would like to share a few words from Aurora Central High School. We have Kiara Padilla.
Good evening. My name is Kiara Chavez Padilla. I am 16 years old and attend Aurora Central High School. I have been a part of the Village Exchange Center since February 2021 and have known of the Village Exchange Center since 2020. I have seen many families in our community positively impacted by the services, resources provided by the Village Exchange Center. In October of 2020, my family went through a tragedy and were victims of arson in which we lost our home of 10 years. Amanda and the Village Exchange Center supported my family and 16 other families impacted by this fire. In May of 2021, I had the opportunity to become a youth natural leader in order to be able to support my community better and learn to navigate a variety of resources. After becoming a natural leader in June of 2021, I had the opportunity to become a camp counselor at the Village Exchange Summer Camp and work with young teens and children to have a fun summer and have them do something productive on a daily basis while school was out. For the past 2 years, I have volunteered with the food pantry as well as our COVID-19 vaccine clinics to serve our community that lacks food or resources and the correct information on why it's important to get vaccinated. Adams County and Arapahoe County have provided incentives for these vaccines that were distributed at the Village Exchange Center so our community could have enough for food, rent, etc. In summer of 2022, I was in need of a job and income to help my mother financially, in which the Village Exchange Center offered me the position of administrative assistant for our Village Global Summer Camp. A year ago in my college English class, I was asked to make a profile piece on someone who has helped our community and someone we admire. I chose Amanda not only because she is a leader and huge supporter of the immigrant and refugee community, but also because she is passionate about what she does and because no matter what obstacle or barrier she faces, she will always put the community first. Having the Paris Elementary building will continue helping us put the community first, help youth like me become actively involved in the community, and provide families with a variety of services, whether it's food, a worship space, or immersion programs. Thank you.
Thank you for those words. And once again, our overall goal is for the existing residents to be able to work, thrive, and live in the community that they're in right now and have the services here so they're not pushed out, but they could be here and know that they have services that can keep them here. With that, I'll turn it over to Mike Ferrafino, who is the chair of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Like Omar said, a lot of us are involved either directly or peripherally in education. We just saw a group present earlier, and it is a really sad day. It's a sad day because of what happened at East High School, and it's sad for all those of us who have really advocated and lobbied for additional resources from a state level for the last 20 to 30 years. We have not been able to go through and find a sustainable type of funding for education in the public sector since 1992. And it's sad to see a school close, because seeing a school close becomes very symbolic about all the challenges that a lot of Coloradan families are facing. I want you to imagine if there were 100 kids lined up in front of me. All those kids have big dreams. 4 or 5 years old, they want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers, they want to be astronauts, football players, teachers, accountants, engineers. But the unfortunate reality is the actualization of those dreams is not equal. They can dream, but having the resources to make those dreams a reality is not equal. And that is because the majority of those children will show up in first grade 30 points behind. Only 30% of them will be reading at grade level in third grade. Only 60 to 65% will be graduating from high school, and only 9 to 10% will be graduating from college within 6 years. So despite us being a very wealthy state, despite seeing all these cranes all over the place, there is a boom going on, but the boom is not for all of us. Colorado ranks 44th out of 50 states in funding preschool to 12th grade, 49th in funding higher education, and we are dead last in teacher pay, 50 out of 50. We cannot expect top 10 results with bottom 5 funding. So we have a greater issue at stake being able to go through, but those challenges have resulted in our children here in this community, our lower income, our historically marginalized, our immigrants, our Latino, our Black, our immigrant, our refugee children falling farther behind and are graduating from high school and college at much lower rates. Aurora Public Schools needs our help. The state of Colorado needs our help. We need to ensure that our nation and our state makes meaningful investments in our school districts, our schools, and our teachers, especially those that serve a higher percentage of lower income students, immigrant students, Black and brown students, and refugee students. But right now they're not. That's the reality. We're not, as a state, making that meaningful investment. And schools in Denver Public Schools and Aurora are closing because the enrollment is declining. And the enrollment's declining, because there are less individual students that are paid specifically from the state, and there's less money going around. So that is the reality. So part of the choice in terms of solution is, one, us finding a way to advocate for more resources from the state, being able to redo the finance formula, or finding different nonprofits and programs to be able to support our students without taking away district dollars. Being able to find private investment, other public-private partnerships, but don't pull away from the general fund that is directly, specifically geared for school districts. That is the challenge. So, we do believe that every single child, regardless of their skin color, their religion, their family background, deserves the opportunity to dream and make those dreams a reality. We believe that business, ownership, and education are the pathways to achieving the American dream. But we recognize that dream is becoming increasingly difficult to achieve. The cost of living in Colorado is high, and good paying jobs are hard to come by. But we come today with you with a message of hope and inspiration. We can do it. And you know why? Because we did it before. Just 6 years ago, St. Matthews was closing, and many thought that our community would be left without a vital resource. But we came together, and with our determination and hard work, we were able to transform that space into a beacon of hope and opportunity for our community, and now we can do it again. The closure of Paris Elementary School is a difficult moment, but it's also one of opportunity for us to come together and create something truly special. Our team of repurposing this school has a bold vision to create economic opportunities for the historically marginalized communities and to close the educational and workforce opportunity gaps that have persisted for far too long. The partnership between the Village Exchange Center, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Aurora chapter of the NAACP, and K Bueno radio station is a powerful example of that collaborative effort. And these are anchor institutional partners. We're all walking down the aisle together. This is not a logo on a screen or some type of hope that somebody is able to contribute. This is a substantial resource, capital investment in terms of being able to make this work. This is a unique team. Each partner brings a unique perspective and expertise to the table. And together, we can create a collaborative space that meets the needs of the community. The partners in this collaboration have been serving the community for years. NAACP since 1992. Colorado Hispanic Chamber of Commerce since when? 1976. 2016. K Bueno Radio, first Spanish language radio station in this entire state. I don't even know when that was. So they all have a deep understanding of the community's strengths, the challenges, and the aspirations. This understanding is critical to creating a collaborative space that is representative of the community's needs. It also ensures the partners have established trust and relationships with the community, which is essential for the success of any community development project. At the heart of this vision is a safe space of belonging, where everybody is welcomed, regardless of their race, their religion, or their immigration status. This is crucial in a time where our nation is grappling with issues of systemic racism, anti-immigrant sentiment, religious intolerance, and a growing wealth gap between the haves and have-nots. By creating a community that fosters inclusivity and belonging, we are taking a stand against these divisive forces. Furthermore, we know that diversity is not just a moral imperative, but an economic one as well. And by investing in our programs, in our education and entrepreneurship, we can drive economic prosperity and innovation. Our team behind the repurposing of Paris Elementary School recognizes this and aims to provide high quality before and after school programs, preschool, supplementary programs for Aurora's children. We'll offer free training for people to access better paying jobs and entrepreneurship classes to help individuals start or grow a business. By incubating new nonprofits and supporting existing ones, we'll catalyze community impact and collaboration. And I also want you to remind you that we can do it because we've done it before. The closure of Paris Elementary School is not the end, but a new beginning for our community. We have an opportunity to come together and support the team behind this effort, and in doing so, we'll create a better future for ourselves and our families. Let us take this opportunity to show the state what we are capable of and build a community that empowers and uplifts us all. Now, we're not going to be able to solve every problem, but with 50,000 square feet of space, we can sure help 50,000 square feet of problems. And we believe in ingredients in a great plan. It's like making a cake. It's like building a house. You got to go through the steps at some point. And so step one is being able to go through and create an ultimate goal. Right here, as you read, is to empower Aurora and the surrounding communities, minority, immigrant, and refugee populations. What this means, we want to go through and help create generational wealth, generational economic opportunity. That is the overall goal of this plan, to be able to find that upward mobility, to be able to go through and have programs that ultimately we can turn back around and make sure that our children's children have got a better chance and a better opportunity than we did maybe at this specific time. We want to help you and your families and your children and your neighbors achieve the American dream. So with that, I want to go through and introduce you to Amanda Blaurock.
Is our time up? Okay, well, I always knew not to go after Omar and Mike, and now I also have added Kiara. Excellent. So I have a minute, so I just want to say that we are a community center. We're not going to become a community center. That's who we are, and we serve this community. We've served up to 15,000 people a year. We've brought $12 million into this community in the last 3 years. We've done that with the collaboration of the NAACP and the Colorado Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We have this year already committed $7 million that's coming into this community. And as a hub, we go out and we bring community partners like Vanguard and Meal and all the other ones that were mentioned today into our space. We have community dialogue, we do language focus groups, we do town halls. That's how we responded 6 years ago to the need in the community at the Village Exchange Center currently, and that's exactly what we would be doing today in this space. In addition, our partners, already we have 10 other partners that would come into this space that represents everything from the South Sudanese to the Oromo community of Colorado to Pastor James, who represents the Kachin community, thank you for being here, the Congolese community, that would all come into this space and utilize it, in addition to what my two partners have said, and I think my time is up. Okay.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit more about the programming you envision happening in this space?
Sure. So as you see on this slide, we currently have a farm at Stanley Marketplace. The spaces outside would be an extension of that farm. On the other floors, we're looking at doing youth and food programming, and for it to be a collaborative workspace. That's what we currently do in our space. So we have the multi-faith programming, and then also all of the event spaces. So there, as you walk through this building, you're seeing all the different activities that can take place for our community partners. On the second floor, in this space, as Mike pointed out, and in this area, we would bring in the radio station that would be an anchor institution here for studios for all the community members in these spaces, in addition to all the small business supports and workforce development. We will bring in the Economic Development Center of the NAACP of the Aurora branch. So they would be located in this space, and we currently have a minority business fund that's in partnership with these two organizations. We have $456,000 that we're giving out within the next year to this community to support both with small mini grants and technical assistance. On the next floor, we're looking at doing wraparound services. We have cultural brokers. We have trained over 200 individuals, our natural helpers. Our natural helpers are community leaders, many of which are in this room, and also our cultural navigators. Both of those, one is in partnership with the City of Aurora, the other in partnership with the State of Colorado. And again, for multi-faith worship space, as we know and we've seen over the last 6 years, we are constantly turning away congregations because we don't have space for them. We have 4 congregations that worship on Sundays who would love to have their own space to be able to do youth programming and Bible study, and then also all the programs for our Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, and other community partners that we currently work with. So having another space, because these can be designated for their communities, is excellent. Thanks for the question. Any other questions?
So I noticed with your proposal that you were talking about the American dream. So when you say that, can you be more specific? Are you talking specifically like the white supremacy ideal of the American dream? Or what would that look like for like minoritized students of color?
That is a wonderful question. And, it's interesting. Jesus is standing right behind you, and it's important to be able to go through and talk about what this dream is. And from a lot of the research, my parents are immigrants. Jesus is an immigrant. His parents are obviously, like I said, we're from Mexico. Our entire staff actually is foreign born, with the exception of me, whose parents are immigrants. Now, it's important to be able to go through and look at data, and data basically talks about this great concept. We don't hear about the German dream or the Japanese dream or a lot of other countries associated with the idea dream. There was a concept and an idea that there's a greater amount of opportunity within this country, but we know that all opportunity is not equal. So part of it's being able to go through and find a path to be able to achieve that and being able to break down the obstacles and barriers that make that happen. Now, immigrants, black, brown, refugees have a greater amount of belief in the possibility of achieving the American dream than actual, like Anglo, white, multi-generational individuals that live in this country. They believe in it, and they believe that you access it through, number one, primarily through business ownership, And unfortunately, a distant second is education. But it allows an organizations like ours that speak the language of business to be able to make sure that there is a greater amount of emphasis on education as well. So being able to go through and think about how that is achieved through those multiple different pathways is critical. You know, right now we find ourselves at a point where the United States Supreme Court is debating whether they will allow race admissions to still be used in college admission. Now, it may seem like a very small thing, but with as conservative as the court is, it is expected that they will go through and rule that as unconstitutional. And the ripple effect that will have is that every single college in this country will no longer be able to use any type of race-based admission. That will also affect financial aid funding, the way school groups are funded on campus, and the way DEI programs are funded in corporations, and possibly even state and federal, basically, resources. So your question is really critical about what does that mean? And for me, it means to be able to go through and have everything everybody else has in my own words. Does that answer your question?
Amanda, if the VEC should be able to acquire Paris Elementary, how many more people, how many more families do you think that you can then serve?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. First of all, we are so honored to be here with the other 3 applicants. I mean, it just is an honor to do this. And one of the things that I first think of is the exponential ramifications and catalyzing that's going to happen if we take this space, because it's not Village Exchange Center. We are a village. I mean, that is, someone used the term, I don't remember who it was, but we are a village. We have multiple organizations. When you think of, you know, Pastor James, who's here and has 50 to 100 congregants, now you're serving that many more people. When you think of the Ethiopian community of Colorado who said they would be interested in coming in, they have 35,000 people. So each one of the groups, the Oromo community, the South Sudanese, the Global Bhutanese, I mean, I can name every one of them because we've been working with them for 6 years. They have thousands of people in and of themselves, and the ripple effect of what we're doing with all of these organizations by empowering them with all the programs that we do and being in a space where we have access to them. Having the radio station was one of the first things we thought is, wow, what would that look like to have an actual station helping everyone elevate their voice, but not just elevate their voice, but also receiving people having access to people here, because there's no access. And I think the reason Village Exchange Center's been successful is, one, we built trust in the community, and then we built the trust with the stakeholders that were funding us. We were able to reach people during the pandemic that no one could reach. That's how we ended up at $12.6 million in cash assistance and rental assistance in 2020. Because of our ability to reach communities. So for me to have 48,000 square feet and have these partners, it will be an unbelievable ramification and ripple effect for everyone, not just here, but in the larger state.
You touched on it a little bit, but I was going to ask the diversity of the Village Exchange and what type of people walk in the door and the service you provide for them with the clinic and stuff.
Sure. So we, I think, are serving, and my team's here, probably over 42 countries of origin, people from all over the world, and are here, both people who are receiving communities and incoming communities. And we do that through our food pantry. Last year, we served food that was culturally appropriate to the Afghan communities in partnership with the state and the 3 refugee agencies. We were up to 5,000 people we served weekly in the food pantry alone. I think now we're down to 2,000 because of funding issues around food security and providing income for food. In addition, we have health clinics where we do vaccines both for COVID and flu. We provide a vaccine incentive through Arapahoe County of $100 for a flu shot or a vaccine shot. Again, we have cultural navigators, and we have the community, the natural helpers. We have the new youth natural leaders, which Kiara is a graduate of. We have the multi-faith services. We have here our facilities and events manager who does all kinds of events for the community. And then being a performing arts space, we now can have 260 people in our space to do what is our mission, which is to celebrate religious and cultural diversity. How can we allow people to be in the building, utilize the space at a cheaper amount so that they can actually have a beautiful, dignified space to do their work, to worship, to be seen, to actually interact and build together? That is what we started from, and being able to have another space is even magnifying that. Does that answer your question?
Can I add on to that real quick? One of these things too is if you look down at the promoting minority market data research and community investment, and when you look at sometimes the belief over here, I think it's number 2. We as a city, state, and country don't understand the difference between race and ethnicity and the diversity as well as we think we do. And that's a problem. And I think that is also something we kind of bring to the table. So I identify as being Hispanic. Now, it could be Latino, it can be Chicano, it can be all kinds of different things. So each one of these gentlemen may have a different word they use or anything else. But one thing is, it's not monolithic. Okay? This is not one big group. So being able to help people understand the segmentation, it's just not all brown, and it's just not all black. We all come from different countries of origin. We have different degrees of assimilation, acculturation, different languages, different religions, different geographies, different ages, different genders. There's all kinds of different ways, and that is the important thing. It's not parachuting one program down for one group of people. It's being able to make a collaborative effort to make sure that we understand that each one of these communities needs to be better understood, better respected, and have different needs.
I have a quick question. It's actually 2 questions, and I'm sorry if maybe it was answered before, but I missed the beginning of the conversation, of the presentation, excuse me. If you do, Village Exchange, gets Paris Elementary, what will happen to the current building for Village Exchange? And the second question is, currently, what are the services that Village Exchange offers for Hispanics only? I know you mentioned a lot of, for refugee services, but besides the COVID vaccine clinic and the wage theft, what other services are specific for Hispanics? And someone had asked before, like for Mexicans specifically. Are there?
Oh, our first question, the building currently, we are about to undergo a capital improvement. So we have the entire building on the north side is going to be transitioned to being a commissary and a restaurant storefront, and then also our classrooms downstairs. So our ability to do our food access programming with our food pantry and the commissary, the restaurant, the incubation, the workforce development around that will stay there in addition to our events and multi-faith worship. So we will literally, the desire to do this came from a need by the community to have more space and to have more programming. Am I, can I do her second question? So we don't have any programs that exclude Hispanics. So every one of the programs that we do, from the low wage worker fund to the vaccine clinic to the food pantry to the cultural navigators, natural helpers, the multi-faith worship, everything that we have includes Hispanics. And specifically, when we have ESL citizenship classes over the years that we've done, that has been when there's a specific need, someone will come in and do a teaching of a class in that language. But in addition, I just want to add what you're going to be doing in the Hispanic community.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's why we're here. I think why we're being able to go through is that understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all and nobody can basically go through and deliver all the programming. So part of it is really making sure that this is a complete quest to be able to build a bigger tent. I think part of this vision is making sure that there is space to incubate new nonprofits, understanding how critical nonprofits serve, making sure that we're helping with everything from their governance to their fundraising to making sure they can do everything they need to do. On the other side, being able to nurture existing nonprofits, new businesses, existing businesses. But specifically along the Hispanic side, we've been really fortunate to be able to partner with the Village Exchange Center. We have a long history of 40 years operating, and before that, I came from a Spanish language media background, and so I live and breathe a lot of this community in a lot of different ways. And so we're continually looking for better ways to impact the Latino community positively, of which the Mexican community is the largest single percentage within the state. Now, with that being said, an example of that collaboration is we have a soccer program that we do every single summer We bring in a member of the Mexican national team, and we go through and utilize Univision and Telemundo and the Spanish language radio stations, encourage kids to come. Okay? Now, we do this because, you know, within Aurora Public Schools and Denver Public Schools, I think there are over, 130 languages spoken. You know, we kind of joke around, like, with certain Latinos that there are some universal languages: money, music, food, and soccer. And so we use soccer as a platform of communication. We're not trying to find the next Messi, but we encourage them to be able to go through and apply to the program, and it's all for free, but they have to be willing to read for 15 minutes every day during the summertime. Staves off the summer brain drain and helps support where Latino and Hispanic students are the lowest, which is third grade reading. Second thing, they have to commit to living a little bit of a healthier lifestyle by doing X, Y, and Z. The X, Y, and Z is determined every year by our health partners. And then the parents are required to go through and support number 1 and number 2, because we understand how multi-generational support is really critical to make anything work. Now, when their parents come down, drop off the kids for the half-day program where they get to meet their superstar, get lunch, get a uniform, get free training, have a great time, the parents are required to go through a little mini seminar on health and finance. So we're not changing the world, but it gives you an idea how, with the assets we have and the resources and the relationships, we're able to go through and incent a group of children to do a couple different things differently. Same thing with the Youth Entrepreneurship Academy. We're not trying to create a army of entrepreneurs. However, we believe entrepreneurship is a path, but it's really a way to make sure that kids that are on the bubble and who are very interested in what is an in vogue concept of entrepreneurship now are going to graduate from high school. So,
Last question.
Just a quick question. We talked about the space available to the community. Is that going to be rental space that we're renting out to the community? And do we know what that costs? Do we have an idea what that will cost someone wanting to rent a space in that building? And also, do we have any space being designated to education for our students?
Good question. So in terms of the spaces, they are rental spaces, and what I can say over the last 6 years is we subsidize rent for anyone that needs it. So our congregations are at probably 1/10 of what they would pay anywhere else, and I'm not going to mention what they actually pay, but we can talk about it another time. But we really do, if we said $1,000 a classroom, and we did our pro forma, which is a very large, see the spaces here, and that's a permanent time in that space. Those can be designated. What we do in our current space is we act as a landlord, so we call them resident partners, and then we divide up spaces, $150 a office space, and then they get access to internet, telephone, all of the services that we have in hours in the multi-area space. So you can get in one room, in our small little rooms, like 4 different organizations. So really going down all the way to $90 just to have that office space. So very affordable. What I heard is probably not even close to what anyone else is paying. But in addition to that, our grants, we have something that I didn't mention, and I apologize, which is Community Cares. It's the program that actually integrates all of our program as a community center. It is us as a landlord. And that Community Cares money that we've been funded for the last 3 years actually provides us the ability to do that subsidization. So we want people to be there. We feel like the ramifications of having someone in the space, even if it's for free, but now we have a large community to serve, is critical. Congressman Crow came to me 3 years ago and said the South Sudanese need a place. There's no money for them right now. So they just came. I think we ended up paying nothing. I don't even know. We subsidized their entire rent. And that was something that we were able to do and offer a very large community to be there. So even when you set up the pro forma and the rental amounts, for us as a community organization that is a nonprofit, we get funding that provides us an ability to subsidize.
Good evening, everyone. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm so excited to be in space with y'all. We are so excited to be in space with y'all. We're excited to share about YASPA and the ABC Collective's vision. But first, I just want to pause. My heart is heavy as well with what has happened at East. It's a lot.
on my heart right now, and y'all staying and being here in this space, I think is even more indicative of why we need ABC Collective's vision as well. Thank you for being here. I don't know if some of y'all just got here, coming from kids or work and what have you, but thank you for sticking it out. I know that it's a long evening. I also just want to shout out Ariana and Leilani, who were here. Can we give it up for them? The reason I'm giving it up for them is because we are actually already within Paris Elementary School. We're already providing programming after school. So we're already embedded in a part of what's necessary for the youth and families within this village. I am Dr. Janice Mackey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of YASPA, which is Young Aspiring Americans for Social and Political Activism. I am here with my colleagues who are also a part of the ABC Collective. We have Daniel Sampson here. Founder and CEO of Driven by Our Ambitions. We also have Paz Ryan, who's not here, but we do have Andre, who is here with AOPO. We also have Lisa Neal Graves, who is here as well. Lisa Neal Graves is the CEO of the Aurora Wellness Community, which is an initiative out of the Anschutz School of Medicine. So I want to anchor us with a statement from Angela Davis. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. Yeah, sit with that. I'm anchoring that for this presentation and for our vision because something that we can no longer accept is continued displacement of our youth and families. And as I indicated, we're already here, right? And so we believe that this will be a very smooth transition, even though it will no longer be a school, but it can be a community hub for youth and families of Paris to continue to have a sacred space. So I want to bring you into our lens, an eye of the ABC Collective. So I like call and response. So can you please share some words that you see from this eye? Yes. Right on. Yes, all of that. Yes, all of that. So that is much of what we already do, but what we desire to transition into physical space here at Paris. ABC Collective is very much rooted and anchored in the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And we don't use that language because we already do that naturally, right? We built YASPA this way. We built the ABC Collective this way. We also know that we are in line with the APS Blueprint vision as well. Why? Because we anchor everything we do within the social determinants of health. We know from public health research, right, that if we anchor within the social determinants of health, that communities can go from surviving to thriving, right? And so what that looks like is a focus on education, economic stability, healthcare access and quality, neighborhood and built environment, and social context. And we know that APS envisions and desires for every student to have a plan for their future, a set of skills, credentials, and be able to identify and connect with a community of support. So what that looks like from the prism and lens of the ABC Collective Community Hub is providing academic, career, and civic development pathways, behavioral and mental health supports, healing-centered engagement, a community garden and food security, on-site daycare, and workforce development. I just want to emphasize here, I'm obviously not going to go through all of this, but we've been doing this work, right? So I just want to emphasize that we're not brand new. YASPA's been around for 13 years. We have decades of experience as a part of the collective, and we already provide an array of programs in the action zone within Aurora Public Schools, including Paris Elementary School. So this would not be new for us. This would just really be an opportunity to transition our programming into a physical space. We also have well over, and we couldn't even add more to this slide, obviously, but we have well over 50 community partnerships as well. And some of them are represented within this space as well. So this hub would not just be us as a collective. We desire to expand that collective and ensure that youth and families have a one-stop shop to be able to come and get their needs met. So this is really about creating a place for community and by community that will be safe and continue to be sacred for the youth and families of Paris and what they desired for the building.
support services, food, childcare on site that is low cost, health resources, programs, and events. Cesar Chavez reminds us we cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their sakes and for our own. Again, I love this anchoring as well because that is exactly what we envisioned when we put this proposal together. This was not an opportunistic opportunity for us. This was really about an opportunity to ensure that youth and families would not continue to feel mentally, emotionally, and physically displaced from their space. So what does this look like by way of services through the ABC Collective? Education, economic, well-being, community support, and social context, of course, as well. We know that a school is closing. We need to name that. We need to honor that. Harm has been done. But there's a unique opportunity here to still, via the board, right, to seize the moment and ensure that healing can take place and repair can take place by standing with the ABC Collective. By way of implementation, what this looks like for education and workforce development, we will continue, as we have already done, to provide academic, career, and civic engagement opportunities and development, out of school programming, after school and during the summer, a healthcare pathway, and many other pathways as well, especially because we have the support of Anschutz as well through the School of Medicine. We also know that North Middle School is actually a magnet as well, if folks have been following Blueprint, right? So that's another opportunity to ensure that we can make sure there's representation within medicine as well. And paid internships and apprenticeships and fellowships as well. Community support services. So we'll have a food security program, childcare on site that's low cost, community events, and access to physical care. You will see that this list is pretty short, and there's a reason for that. It's because we desire to expand the ABC Collective. We desire to ensure that there are more folks in the space who are already in Paris, right? I want to give a shout out to Susan Gershwin, who's here. Woo-woo. The reason I'm giving her a shout out, right, is because she has done a ton of work of toiling the soil of Paris Elementary School and providing folks and community partners to support the youth and families, and we desire to continue those partnerships as well that already exist, that our youth are accustomed to. Social and individual well-being. So what that looks like is healing and race-centered engagement, obviously an emphasis on youth violence prevention and intervention, hence why my heart is heavy today. BIPOC behavioral and mental health supports as well through mentoring and beyond. So what this looks like by way of anticipated outcomes is expanding our reach, right? We already work, again, with youth and families within the action zone within Aurora, as well as DPS and CCSD as well, but we will now be able to serve 750 to 1,000 families minimum annually, increase wealth and earn potential as well, decrease youth violence through intervention and prevention, and increase health equity and representation of BIPOC providers as well. There's a moment where you have to choose whether to be silent or to stand up. So we're asking you to stand with us and to stand with Youth Paris and families and what they desired for this space, which is what the ABC Collective is providing. What this looks like by way of proposed terms and transition, we really want to make sure that youth and families are able to come back into the space relatively quickly. So we're looking at July 15th for an occupancy date. And what we would first do is healing, right? Have healing dialogues, healing circles to make sure that folks know that we desire to continue to partner with them, continue to co-create with them so that they don't feel displaced from this space that's been so sacred to them. Also, pre-existing programming, again, that we all provide, as well as new programming from new vendors and partners, which would begin fall and winter of 2023. We are desiring to lease to own. Our bid amount is here. We will also have a fee schedule as well. But what I also want to highlight here is that Aurora Wellness Community could have went after this space themselves. There's something very unique about the fact that they did not. They decided to leverage their institutional power to support community leaders, right, to ensure that this is a community-based space. That's power. Let's go. And as well, to speak to financial feasibility, we already have many state contracts that have supported our work because they believe in our work. And community usage will have extended hours to address community needs and family needs, and to honor the pre-existing partnerships that Susan Gershwin put in place as well. And of course, expand youth intervention and prevention around violence as well. So now we're going to transition to words of support for the ABC Collective.
I am Dr. Janice Mackey, the co-founder and CEO of Young Aspiring Americans for Social and Political Activism, or YASPA for short. My connection to Aurora is I was raised in Aurora, started a nonprofit in Aurora, and have raised my kids in Aurora who attended Aurora schools. I am connected to the ABC Collective because my organization is the lead organizer. This collective has worked, lived, played, and raised children within Aurora and is committed to the Aurora community. As a parent, community leader, and CEO, I support the ABC Collective in repurposing Paris Elementary School. We need a space that provides wellness, health, civic engagement opportunities, educational and workforce development opportunities by the ABC Collective. This collective will honor what the Paris community of youth and families desired for the future of the building. I am able to contribute continued, consistent, and sustained leadership of the vision. We believe this collective will provide the necessary avenues for Aurora's babies, youth, elders, and families to grow toward economic, educational, and equitable liberation. We believe this collective will provide the diversity of assets, talents, and people needed to continue serving the Aurora community. I support the ABC Collective's vision that's community-based, for us, by us, anchored in community ambition, based in community wisdom, co-created with collective vision. It's as easy as ABC. Stand with me, Dr. Mackey, support the ABC Collective. As a parent, community leader, and CEO, I support the ABC Collective in repurposing Paris Elementary School.
I support the ABC Collective's vision.
I support ABC's collective vision.
That's community-based.
That's community-based.
That's community-based.
For us, by us.
For us, by us.
For us, by us.
It's as easy as ABC.
It's as easy as ABC.
It's as easy as ABC. Stand with me, Imani.
And Kylie Grant.
Stand with me. Stand with me, Tarek Walker.
I am Ariana Rodriguez.
And I'm Leilani Gomez.
Abos Marketing.
I'm Rabiel Germain.
Yoel Gilbert Mescal.
Andre Carbonell from the Apprentice of Peace Youth Organization.
Sherelle.
And Keely.
Aisha Mitchell.
Jordan Ruffin. John Tucker.
Shartasia Miller.
Gail Pugh. And Lee Steed.
Support the ABC Collective.
Support the ABC Collective.
Support the ABC Collective.
Support the ABC Collective.
Support the ABC Collective. Stand with me, Lisa Neal Graves. Support the ABC Collective.
Anchored in community ambition, based in community wisdom, co-created with collective vision. It's as easy as ABC. Stand with me. I'm Daniel Sampson. Support the ABC Collective.
And that concludes our presentation. It's short, obviously, and sweet, but powerful. And we will now open it up for questions as well. What you all see here, though, to wrap up, is a QR code with the bit.ly link where you can find out more information about our individual respective organizations as well.
Good evening. I have a question about the collaboration or partnership with Anschutz. Can you tell me more about what they'll be doing with you in this community?
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. So my name is Lisa Neal Graves, and I am the CEO of the Aurora Wellness Community. The Aurora Wellness Community was created by the University of Colorado School of Medicine to specifically address the social determinants of health. And while we won't have a clinic here, we will have services here that we want to support. So we will partner with community-based organizations to create a food system so that there's a food access. And we also will partner with community-based organizations to create daycare. So those are the two core foci, right, for us here. But we also are working hand in hand with APS on their healthcare education program. And so that is really, the magnet school is in North. This is very close to North. And so you have that triangle between the School of Medicine, you've got North, and then you have here. So we would have some of the education components here, and we would have the clinic on campus.
Learn more about
opportunities, and you briefly mentioned that. I'm curious if you could
Actually, I can kick it off. And with the Apprentice of Peace Youth Organization, we have a career pathways program that is centered in our version of STEAM. We call it the Laws of Life. So it stands for Leadership, Arts, Wellness, and Skilled Trades. So for emerging coming out of high school and young adults 18 to 24, they can find career pathways in any of those areas with some of our partners and get directly into a career. And then we also teach post-secondary skills for anyone who's looking for alternatives to college and traditional schooling.
Hi, I love the collaborative initiative and the focus that you have in your presentation. I think that's awesome. Just like I asked the vendor, I want to ask you, can you expand a little bit about financially, how's your proposal feasible and sustainable?
It's a great question. Full transparency, if you look at the rubric, that's where we were graded the lowest. We also are not a developer. So obviously, as a community-based organization, we have been able to sustain for the past 13 years. I've never had to lay anybody off. I'm a hustler. Everybody knows that up in here. I got multiple state contracts. I also have contracts with other organizations like nonprofits as well. So definitely able to continue to sustain and ensure that we're able to be anchored here. But also, I'm going to pass it to our partner, Lisa, as well, to again talk about, as I indicated in the presentation, the ways in which they're leveraging their institutional power to support community-based leadership.
Yeah, I think that the core of it is our services are not free services, right? So we have, the daycare would absolutely be in conjunction with, and we have partners here as well. So we have the Center for Community Wealth Building, and they have partnered with our organization to really identify co-ops that would allow us to generate revenue and income and work with community-based organizations that already exist to figure out ways that we could help scale. And so a lot of what we're talking about is leveraging sort of fee-for-services models that would enable us to generate revenue that would allow us to also pour into this building.
And just to that, outside of our revenue generation, we have a series of partners and funders in our network who are very willing to fund the space, especially if they see it, because
Just wanted to say I appreciate the video. I'm a visual learner, so it really got me engaged. My question is, how do you all provide mental health supports for youth?
I guess I'll start. We, with our partnership with YASPA and everyone within the ABC, our focus strictly is on culturally congruent and responsible mental health services using our clinical supervisors that are both at the education level of some of the colleges, along with creating a pipeline. So we're all familiar with the pipeline that's, I guess, shared quite often around schools and society today. My emphasis is creating a school-to-school pipeline, using emphasis on lived experience of young men, young adults that have been involved in the juvenile justice system and preparing them for life and opportunities in the mental health field. We have the avenue through our approach a partnership with the Community College Aurora to provide micro-credentials for them to be in that space, to either be peer support specialists, to also advance into the clinical field. We has already housed partnerships with other Black male professionals that are clinically prepared to work with this community specifically to give both the needed mental health services to this community, along with open up more doors to see that as representation is needed in the field of mental health, to have that as an opportunity. So at this time in this space, we are in a position to open up more doors for mental health services, along with having providers at this current moment to provide the services needed for the community right now.
And just to build upon that, we do healing-centered engagement naturally within YASPA. Our healing-centered engagement manager is right here. Crystal, shout out. We also have Dr. Lyons in the back as well. Shout her out too. Dr. Lyons provides wellness coaching for our staff and for our young people as well. So healing is just a natural part of what we do.
Can you share a little bit more about the programs that would be brought into the community hub?
Yeah, again, with the Apprentice of Peace, we have a variety of programming. For instance, we provide enrichment program all throughout the Aurora Action Zone. Even coming in here today, they're like, "You're with Apprentice of Peace," and I was like, "Yeah," because we do provide programming in this community, but to be short, enrichment programming, we have mentoring programming where we pair you with a mentor. We have career pathways, and we have student councils, and have started student councils all throughout Aurora public schools, from Rangeview to West High School to East Middle. So for our student councils, we basically go to a school, we organize a student body around issues going on to their school, and then direct their school board or get school board.
So specifically, a majority of our programming is around high-risk youth and youth, unfortunately, heading towards the juvenile justice system. We're in the 810 zip code, so if you ever looked at a police or community hotspot, this is the direct center of it as we speak. So a lot of our youth in this space where we provide, of course, the biggest need is mentoring. So we provide mentorship programs and services for the youth, especially the most high-risk youth in the community. Along with that, we also have a relationship with the Youth Biz program to provide financial literacy and an entrepreneurship track for young adults that are looking for other ways to be educated and to find other approaches to being involved in their community and being attached to it. Lastly, from a school end, as I shared before, the big emphasis from our school program when it comes to mental health is creating the pipeline for more providers of color to go into mental health, but specifically to show their representation in the field that there isn't any in, and that's been a significant need for. So within that space, we're able to provide a work experience for young adults to work as peer support specialists, as well as having the additional opportunity to get micro-credentials to see this as a career pathway for themselves. So those are the specific three ones that we cater to with a big significant emphasis on high-risk youth and juvenile justice involved youth.
And I'll be super brief. I would say go to our website because we have a lot of programs. But we have after-school programming, we have summer programming, we have a summer of activism coming up, a Social Sciences and Policy Institute. We have middle and high school courses as well. We also have youth councils and internships through our workforce development program called our Y Incubator.
So my question is, what age groups do you guys plan on serving?
To start, we plan on serving just our general populations that we are already serving, because we don't want to cut off anybody and any access, but we do plan on dividing the students up by age groups, but starting from elementary, middle, and high, and still providing a little bit of services for young adults and resources for their parents, because it's about the students and the parents. If you're not tackling the whole family and providing resources for the whole family, it's going to be hard to create any real change.
So in addition, you had asked what else was coming into the space, because there are already programs that are being provided by YASBA and by DVOA, sorry, and Prince of Peace. But what we would actually bring is there is already a focus on healthcare in APS, and there's already a relationship with those programs with the CU Anschutz campus. Our objective is to figure out ways that we can scale and use part of this building to support that, and also the campus from a clinical perspective. So there would be this pathway to healthcare that we absolutely need more representation in. So we're excited about that potential.
The programs sound great and things that we truly need in this community. Staffing right now is a big issue. Are we concerned with being able to staff those different pieces within the ABC Collective? When we're talking the mental health and the teaching and all those other aspects of it, are we concerned with that piece of it? And will they be a lot of volunteer, licensed, or paid staffing, or just a mix in the process?
I'll start and be brief because I know that there's some more questions out there. Quick answer is no, we're not concerned. Our retention rate at YASPA is great. We have youth here who are alumni who work for us now. We also pay our young people and we pay our adults well, so we're not concerned with staffing. That's also why we went in as a collective as well, because we know that the community deserves collective capacity, right? So we're definitely not concerned. Quick answer.
Hi. I'm a Aurora community member, and I'm part of Racial Justice, and I was really excited to see, that you all have backing Anschutz Medical Center. And I think that's a really great example of just putting institutional and community leaders who are doing the work right here, especially BIPOC community leaders. I just wondered if you could maybe speak more to that partnership and what that looks like.
All right, so we're framing that now as we speak, and the reason why we were willing to join as part of the collective is because we are already working in Aurora Public Schools as part of some of the programs that we offer on campus. What Aurora Wellness Community is hoping to really sort of raise up or elevate is the student-based programming and looking for ways to have that pathway that gives them opportunities for internships. And they would work with Aurora Wellness Community to do outreach in the community to help with helping the community understand trends that are happening, getting input and feedback from the community about the services that we're offering so that we can do this continuous evolution. We want all of our services to be obviously data-driven and community influenced. So a lot of that work has to come from community, and that really is the basis of the relationship. So hopefully that answers your question.
Dr. Mackey, you can take one more question.
Hi. I have lived down the street for 22 years. I know that my daughter attended YASPA and y'all helped her. Could you please just remind me and share how long you've been doing this work?